We're back, and it has been 4 days since we last recorded, and we thought, well, since we were gone for so long, we got to come back with a quick episode here again. But this episode I'm super excited about because it is the definition of the Hoopers Almanac. We're bringing out the past into today's game. We are going to be comparing contenders of today's game, the teams, the builds that they are, to former champions of the NBA. So throughout the entirety of the NBA history. So I'm excited to get into it. What team is a mold of a former champion and can that be like similar to who they are today? Adam's also going to talk about the game he went to. What was it? Saturday night? Friday night?
Thursday and Friday night. Yeah.
Yeah. We talked about the Thursday one because we recorded right after that.
Right after. Yes. And
exactly. Then so the Friday night game, the great game against the Clippers, the crazy comeback for the Spurs. I might slightly talk about Jason Tatum's return and how happy I was for that. And then we'll get into our comparisons. But before we get going, here are our friends from Green Top. It's been 4 days. I wanted to try to think of what's the Bare Naked Lady song where they say
1 week.
Oh, it's been 1 week since you.
Yeah.
Gosh, I couldn't even. I can know like the barely of the chorus of that song, and that's where we're going with it. But before we have a lot to talk about today, we have a lot of the NBA. But Adam, you have seen so much NBA live, and you're going to see more this week. We were just talking about pre-pod. You got 3 games you're going to, possibly 3 games you're going to, at least 2 for sure that you're going to this week. But this past Saturday, this past Friday, you got to see the Spurs and the Clippers and the Spurs' crazy comeback in San Antonio. What was that game like? And I mean, I think one of the great things we saw from that night in general was we see Tatum return, and then we see this crazy comeback and emotion after a regular season win that we have rarely ever seen, but it's appreciated by the true NBA fan crowd. How was it to be just one in the building for a game which had so much at stake, it felt like?
Yeah, it was fun. It was a really strange, atmosphere because, the Thursday night game, like that those tickets got a little bit pricey. I jumped on it pretty early, so it wasn't too bad. But even for an upper deck ticket, which again I always just moved down, but what I paid was the upper deck ticket, and like it was decent price for that. It was the Pistons in town. Obviously, they played 10 days earlier, all that stuff. But this one was pretty cheap for whatever reason. They kept dropping throughout the day, so I ended up getting a ticket upper deck for $20. End up sitting kind of decent seats.
Niederhauser being out, man. Everyone really loves Niederhauser.
No one wants to go now. Which I mean, he would have made an impact in this game. But second night of a back-to-back, the Spurs said everyone was playing, but it was pretty clear from the start that they were going to kind of play with the rotation a little bit. Wemby's minutes were way down from usual, so he came out earlier. Came back later than normal. Like he normally comes back start of the second quarter or right at the end of the first. That didn't happen. Didn't come back till midway through the second quarter. Just kind of a strange rotation. He played Lindy Waters. Carter Bryant played more. I mean, so it was like a ton of guys got some burn, which was cool to see. And it was like, hey, let's just see what happens. But then they get down by 25. The Clippers. I mean, the first half, Brook Lopez was like unbelievable. In the first half, he turned into like 2019 Brook Lopez. He looked great. And he was sitting difficult twos over multiple guys, and the bench was just loving it. So I was sitting kind of
nights throughout the year where you're like, oh, it turns back the clock. It's not like Brooklyn Nets version of it, but you're right. It's like early Bucks years version.
Yes,
it's after the Lakers. It's like early Bucks when it's just him and Giannis in 2020 and 2021.
Yes, and yeah, he's really an incredible scorer. I mean, his touch from 5 to 25 feet is really amazing. But They were doubling Kawhi a lot. They kind of kept him in check. Kawhi still gets booed, which is so lame at this point. I get it the first couple of years, fair enough. But at this point, come on, what are we doing? But still gets booed almost every time he touches the ball. He wasn't great in the first half, and then the second half he was fantastic. They still had to double him a million times. He is terrifying. If you're rooting for the other team, he is still just terrifying when he has the ball. He still didn't do a whole lot off the ball. That is one thing really stands out in person. He's pretty stationary. You watch some of these other great scorers and they're moving constantly. They're setting tons of screens. He will be the screener sometimes, But it's he kind of just gets to his spots, kind of does what he wants. Fair enough. But yeah, Spurs get down by 25, middle of the third quarter. It was kind of like, man, like, did they just kind of pull the plug and just say, you know what, schedule loss, second night of a back-to-back, whatever. But they go on a 10-0 run, like, middle of the third. And it was like, okay, like, this is a game again. And I think it was like a 11-point game at the end of the third quarter. And it's like, okay, this is doable. They still sat Wemby for, large chunks of the fourth quarter, but they kept chipping away. And then a kind of a big burst to actually take the lead. Devin Vassell gets a big dunk, timeout Clippers, place is going absolutely, bonkers. And it just, kind of maintained. The Clippers did gain the lead at some point, but the ending was nuts. So what did you think of that? Like that play, obviously. So there's a play where Batum comes back in the game to be the inbound passer. He misses. Derrick Jones Jr. was like wide open for a dunk. Like
I don't get it.
Wide open. I don't know how he didn't see that.
No, it was one of the moments where you're like, oh, it makes sense. Get Batum out there for a veteran move, and then just that happens, and you're like,
yes.
The mental IQ.
So he doesn't throw it
there.
He doesn't throw it to Jones. He throws it back to Brook Lopez, like at the top of the key. This is like a sideline out of bounds play. And I think they're down 2, right? Down two. It might have only been 1, actually. 1 or 2. But Derrick Jones, Wemby screws up the coverage. Derrick Jones gets free. I mean, he seriously is just like the easiest little lob dunk. I mean, I guess he just doesn't see. You can see the Clippers bench like pointing at him like, throw it. Doesn't throw it. He throws it to the top of the key to Brook Lopez. Lopez throws it right back to Batum, who's not ready for the ball. He hasn't even come in bounds yet. He has a foot entirely out of bounds still. Catches it out of bounds Spurs ball.
Tyler was losing his mind also on the sideline. It's so funny.
No, he did. I saw him turn around. He like hit the chair. Like it was just, Which, by the way, their bench is hilarious to watch because Van Gundy is really into it. Like, he's running the defense, and he is just like constantly making faces and gestures and talking to guys. Their bench was very entertaining to watch. I will give them credit for that. Darius Garland came down and sat at the end of the bench at one point. He was getting to the game too, so talking some trash. It was good to see. But incredibly fun game. The Spurs, closed it out. They missed some free throws down the stretch, but Steph Castle with them with the 2-point lead. He made the first free throw. He misses the second, gets his own rebound and lays it in with 3 seconds left to seal the win by 4. Super gutsy win. And then, like you mentioned, Wemby gets emotional at the end of the game, and it's just like, I don't know. I think that's so cool. There's so many people who are like, whatever, it's a regular season game. But like, we want this to matter. Like, if the players start to care a lot more about these games, then everyone else should too. So I thought that was really cool. But a lot of guys had really nice games. But Champagnie, I mean, just fantastic. It's been so solid all year. Just one of those games where it's like, middle of the third quarter, I was like, I could have just stayed home, like a little bit tired. And then the game ends, and you're like, I'm so glad I went. That was incredible. So it was a fun night out.
Well, and you're right. You talk about this, like, you want these regular season games to matter. And, Boston, they announced, like, and I hate that I'm pulling it back to Boston and, like, Tatum.
No, please do. Yeah, please move on to Boston.
For the thing is, like, in my mind, it's like, okay, they announced right before game time that Tatum's not doing a minutes restriction. He's, like, ready to actually play. He plays 27 minutes tonight or today, and then on Friday. So I think there's a little bit of a minutes restriction.
I was going to say.
I'm like, oh, okay, Joe, chill. But it's clear that, like, this meant something to him as it means to, like, Wemby. Like, there are guys, we're seeing this, like, there is a resurgence of care, I think, amongst regular season play. I think Anthony Edwards is one of those guys too, like how much he cares about the regular season. And I think that's just what like, if we can have just like some of the top guys, Wemby is now in that class. Ant's been in that class. Tatum has been in that class, but he's not been hurt. Jaylen Brown has been like how much he's cared and like how much he hasn't sat out the season. Like it's been one of those, right. And it's one of those things that you're like, you're a top guy and you love this game so much. You should be portraying that on the court and playing it all the time. And while there's just so many injuries we're seeing with how much the NBA moves, how fast it moves, for people to care like Wemby, like to show that emotion, I think that's super special. And I think that's super important for there to be just that kind of imagery or visualization of amongst NBA players of like, hey, you should care as much as this guy, no matter what game it is. Like, and it only makes me so much more excited to see how the Spurs play in the playoffs and how much more excited he gets come playoff time too. So it's going to be, it's super fun just to like have top 10 players in the NBA right now care as much as these guys do.
Definitely. Totally adds to the experience. And no, I think you're spot on that. And I think, all the top guys are like that. There's really nobody right now that you're like, like, does he really like give it his all every night? Like, that's not really true. I mean, Jokic in that that Thunder game I went to, he was like a madman. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously there's the image of him grabbing Lou Dort, looked like he's going to kill him, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's great. Yeah, the league's in a great place in terms of its superstars. It's really in an awesome spot. So
I was gonna say one of the best examples of this, and he has been throughout his entire career, is Steph Curry. Like
yeah,
his immediate and utter care for the game, and he shows his emotion not with tears or like with like that, but his emotion is shown by like how much he screams, no matter what, like how big of a game it is, no matter what, like if it's a back-to-back regular season game, whatever it may be, nationally televised, local broadcast, whatever it is, that guy shows his emotion no matter what it is. And so that, I think that's also what's been good as like a catalyst for a lot of players, like the younger generation too.
definitely.
But I think you're going to have a great week this week too. You said you're going to see Celtics Spurs Tuesday.
Yes.
And then possibly going Thursday to see the Nuggets Spurs. And then Saturday, you're seeing the Hornets Spurs, who are the hottest team in basketball right now. And plus, it's with your niece, who has become a massive Hornets fan at 7 years old.
She's 7. So my brother and I, we were going to a sports car store here in San Antonio and want to get a couple things for like some projects we're doing. And they have this big table where you can like kind of just open cards, trade, you just sit out for a while, whatever. It's just kind of, it's just there. They have like penny sleeves and top loaders just kind of sitting there for whoever wants to use them. And it has all the NBA teams' logos on them. And, Austin obviously has had basketball on a lot in their apartment, and
Right.
she's seen stuff. But she walked in, she saw the table, and she was like, "Whoa, this is cool!" And then kind of like her eyes just went straight to the Charlotte Hornets logo. And she was like, "Dad, what's this?" And she was pointing right at it, and he was like, "That's the Charlotte Hornets." And she was like, "I love it." It's like,
Yep.
okay. So basically, from then on, if the Hornets are playing, he'll throw them on or whatever. And she's like got a real love for it. When they had that fight against the Pistons, he was showing her clips of it, and he said just like instantly, she was like, "Get him, kill him!" Like at Diamante going at him, and it was like, wow, she like actually cares about this. It's hilarious. And she'll ask like, "Do the Hornets play tonight?" and something like that. So yeah, it's hilarious. So this will be her first NBA game, and we're very excited to kind of be a part of it. So we'll see if she lasts. Who knows? Seats are pretty good, so we'll see. It'll be obviously her and Austin and my dad will be with us too. So very excited about that. And obviously, my dad and Austin and I have gone to, hundreds of games together. So
Right.
Will be really cool to kind of pass that on to her.
Third generation, all 3 generations all together. So that'll be a blast, my man. Okay. The real reason we're recording today is because we wanted to do these. I threw out this idea to you a few weeks ago, and as historical nerds of the game of basketball, I just felt like it was a great way to tie this in. And I almost want to do this like every year as we continue with the pod. Because Aaron and I did this in the past where we did contenders compared to like top teams in the league. But a lot of it, but like of the 21st century, like top 21st century teams, like a few years ago, whenever it was the Warriors in 22, like we compared it like to the 7 Seconds Suns, just a smaller team who has like so much good firepower and like bench guys. Like I think I compared Barbosa to Jordan Poole at one point. So very similar in that sense, but now Adam and I are going to compare the contenders. You have 10, I had 9. We'll talk about the Lakers when we get there. But we have the contenders that we think can actually win the title this year or like compete for the title this year. And we compared them to former NBA champions and try to find a similar mold, similar breakdown to who they were. Anything else I should like preface with before we get into the list, Adam?
Yeah, I think that's really it. The only parameter was just it had to be a title winner. So
Correct.
There are teams that we both threw back and forth like, oh man, like this team, like that would actually fit them well. But I liked in the end the kind of like limiting of title winners. And then we also said one of the other rules was it can be same franchise, but that needs to be a different era. So obviously like we're not going to do like, oh, the 24 Celtics are just like the 26 Celtics. Like that's really boring. So, it can't be the same franchise if it's in the same era. But we could have like, for example, the 65 Celtics you could say is like this. Now that's not what we did, but that could be the case, right? A Lakers to a Lakers, a Rockets to a Rockets type thing. So yeah, that was the other rule they gave us, which I think is a good one.
Absolutely, and I think like this, we could do like last year's Thunder, this year's Thunder. So
yeah, it's like really boring. Yeah.
Now, so I'm excited to do this. Let's start out west though. We feel like there's a bit more. We have more contenders out west. So let's start out west, and let's start with the team with the best record in the NBA right now, the Oklahoma City Thunder. And Adam, I'm very curious to see what you have. I like to think that me and you will probably have a lot of similar ones. I have three teams. I have three teams marked down that I'd be shocked if we had different comparisons, because I feel like you and I are of like mind on some of these. So let's start here with the Thunder. Who do you have as your Oklahoma City former champion comparison?
This actually was maybe the hardest team for me of the 10 that I did, because they just are so unique in that they're so young still. They've already won.
Right.
And then just like the way they play, where it's like it really is a defense first team, but with a like generational score. So it's like that's just an unusual combo. So I went more in the like, okay, where are they at in their development rather than like, do the players match up directly? I assume you went more like play styles. Like on my other teams, I went more like, well, they play kind of like this, or they have like similar roster construction.
Yes,
that's what. Okay, so this one, that's not exactly what I did, but I picked the '92 Bulls as my OKC pick because second year coming off the title, amazing defensively.
Okay.
Deeper than most teams in the league. Obviously, they're the deepest team in the league, but the Bulls actually were pretty deep at that time. Spearheaded by an all-time great scorer, right? And Jordan Shakles Alexander from the guard position, which is unusual, right? So that was the one I felt like probably the least good about in terms of like the matchups, like player for player. But in terms of just like where they are in their development, going for that second title, that's kind of what made me land on 92 Bulls.
So let's break this down even a little bit more, because I mean, in this scenario, J-Dub is your Scottie Pippen, as well as SGA being your MJ. Chet is it's like your third guy being Horace Grant, and Chet kind of makes sense there. Bill Cartwright as Hartenstein, that's kind of hilarious to me, but it also kind of works. And then I think about those Bulls teams, the first three-peat, it feels more guard heavy than it does ever big heavy. Now, the thing with the Thunder, they got 12 different guys that you're like, oh, you can go play. Those Bulls teams in the later 90s, they're not as deep. The early 90s, I feel like you could throw a bunch of different guys out there for them. So I like this comparison a lot. And you're right, the generational talent, I think that in what a generational score between MJ and SGA, it kind of makes sense. Gosh, that's a great one. I will say this. I didn't have a single MJ team on my
that's my one. Yeah.
And so, but I love that this is like the only one that I think that you could probably do that, because you're right. It also is the duplicity of a champion trying to repeat in that 92 team. You could almost say, the 92 team's better than that 91 team. I am curious if that's the same case for this Thunder team, or is this Thunder team better than last year's Thunder team? Maybe just with a little bit more development. We also
just wins machines, right? These teams, like those first three people, they just 60s, mid 60s, they just wins machines, just like this Thunder team.
Yeah, no, I love it. That's a great starter. I'll say this. I went with a team that is going for its second title, and I went with a team more so on the defensive strategy, and I went with the 1990 Pistons.
Interesting. I have them for another team.
I'm excited about this one. So I went with the 1990s Pistons because Thomas and SGA. Now, a little different in how they play style, but then I also thought about, all right, Lambeer is basically your Chet, and it's James Edwards who's starting at center for this team since Mahorn's gone. I'm like, oh, Edwards and Hartenstein kind of work well together. And then it is from here, I'm like, oh, Dort is just Rodman. Dort is just, and Rodman starting at small forward for this team at this point, and then you have Dumars and J-Dub so you have your guard, your wing duo, or your outside duo, and Dumars and Thomas. They're your offensive engines. And then I also just love, again, with like how SGA is, and it's like more so wings dependent and like how they score. You had Vinnie Johnson on this team. You had that's honestly, and then Mark Aguirre even off the bench. For this team, who is at that point still a lethal scorer. I think just having those two guys kind of comparatively in my mind, it's like, oh, Kason Wallace and Aaron Wiggins, and those are like how you can kind of compare to that end. So again, the Thunder team far deeper than this Pistons team. We're rolling out 34-year-old Gerald Henderson on this 1990 Pistons team, which I didn't even realize until doing further research on this. But yeah, that's where I went with this. Also, John Sally not being Jay Will was also just in my head.
That's a good one. I like that. Yeah, yeah. This is why the Thunder were kind of difficult because like the league just has not been this deep like ever. So
Correct.
and the champion usually doesn't have this much depth as well as high end talent. So they were a tricky one, but I actually like where both of us landed. That's good. I think defense first team. It had to be a defense first team.
Yeah, and that's where I kind of landed on it. I was like, man, in it because they have great offense. However, it is their defense that leads to their great offense. I felt like that was the same case for this Pistons team, a Pistons team that in 1990 had the second best defense, and then also just 11th ranked offense. So, but in the end, still a top 3 net rating team. So I was just like, defense led to what they ended up doing on the offensive end, and just a generational top 5 point guard. And at that point, Thomas isn't like a top player in the league like SGA is, not like how Michael Jordan was for those 92 teams. But I still like that there is like this outside dependent scoring, especially, and then Lambeer being Chet's not Lambeer. Chet's not a dick like Lambeer is. But just having that third, more so good defensive and good scoring option as a big.
But Dort covers some of your Lambeer antics there.
That's true, but Dort also just becomes my Dennis Rodman at that point. So,
yeah, which he wasn't shy with some of the antics either. So
no, that's true. Okay, I'm going to start with your Spurs next, and this is when I go a little bit back. I think you're going to really. I don't know how actually you're going to feel about this one, but I'm gonna go into it with this. It's in the 70s.
Oh, I went even further back.
Oh, I figured there was a chance that was the case, but I know what team, I don't know what year. Okay. But I went with the 1979 Sonics.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Jack Sikma, Wemby, not the same thing at all. But that's probably your best player. And with a crew of young guards, Gus Williams, DJ. DJ wins the Finals MVP, and he probably isn't the best player on that team. He just had the best series in 79. And I'm like, is that Steph Castle? No way in hell does Steph Castle outperform Wemby, but maybe in a 7-game series, can Steph Castle just have like 25 points, 5 and 5, and like have just a crazy defensive performance? Wemby just is such an impact and such a big name that everyone would vote for him no matter what for Finals MVP. But and then also I love, again, Fred Brown is nowhere near Fox, but it's just that trio of guards of Fred Brown, Gus Williams, and DJ, Fox, Castle, and Harper. I'm like, that being your main guys, and then where do your wings fit in here? If anyone wants to go look up John Johnson highlights, go for it, my friend. It's an interesting time, but that is basically, in my mind, that's your Harrison Barnes, and then Lonnie Shelton is your like Keldon Johnson,
Devin Vassell type.
Type. Yeah. So that's good. That's where I went with my mind. What do you think of that?
I like that. I looked at that team for a couple of different teams here. And I ended up staying away from them completely. But I went with the 57 Celtics.
Whoa, so we're doing first year Russell.
Yeah. Oh. Rookie Russell.
Oh my God.
So yeah, what I titled it was a youth movement with a generational big man known for his defense. Obviously that's Bill Russell and Wemby. Combined with a slightly older point guard at the top of his game, De'Aaron Fox, Bob Cousy. Possibly the first of many titles. that's
11.
I put that. 11 would be obviously incredible, but and just like a host of really good other players, right? So none of them really at their peak, other than maybe Cousy. But the rest of the team was like good. Like it was like the rest of the starting five was that was a really solid starting five. So I think that was the one that was like I really wanted to get one of those Celtics teams in there, and like the Russell to Wemby comparisons where it's like. Obviously, again, this is, 57. What was that? I mean, that's damn near, 60 years ago? So 60.
Almost 70.
Almost 70 years ago. So, obviously the game's different. He's not quite as skilled as Wemby is, but
no,
that's okay. But it still changed the game with his defense, which is what Wemby does for the Spurs. So, I really liked the Russell to Wemby comparison. That was like the main starting point. And then I looked at the rest of the roster and I was like, wow, the ages, that's what I really was looking at. The ages are very similar to what the Spurs are. Like a Tom Heinsohn is just, is kind of same age as what a Keldon or a Vassell would be now, because he was in college for 4 years. Right. And then obviously Cousy is your Fox. So I the more I looked at that one, the more I liked it.
That's a great one. My gosh, that's a very fun one. Man, And that's probably the right way to go with it because you have SGA and Jordan, then you got Wemby being Russell. Man, you got three of the top four guys in our two of the top four guys in our best players of all time, Mount
Yep.
Rushmore tier going off here. So, but that being said, I still love it. And honestly, it makes complete sense, like you said, with the age ranges of everyone too. So, I like it. I had the Denver Nuggets next.
Okay.
Is your team in the 70s for them?
It is.
Is it the 77 Blazers?
It sure is.
Thank you. Okay, this was the one I had down. One of the first three I had down for us having the same team. Bill Walton is definitely Jokic. This offense moves exactly like that 77 Blazers team. We watched that 77 series for the Anatomy of a Franchise. I sat there watching. I was like, yeah, this is just the Nuggets of today. Their offense moves through Walton like the Nuggets just moved through Jokic. And their Murray is basically Lionel Hollins. Maurice Lucas, man, if we could have chosen like 2 years ago Porter Jr., we would have been great. But even still, like Maurice Lucas is their Aaron Gordon.
He's the Gordon. Yeah, I actually put that note. I said it's a brilliant center who combines well with the do-it-all power forward. Which is exactly what that Blazers team did, and what Aaron Gordon and Jokic are. So, not the deepest team. I noted as well, which is that team wasn't either. But a brilliant offense, which is what the Nuggets have.
They have. Then they also have their Tim Hardaway and Brown being basically I'm going to screw this up. Steele and then Twardzik.
Yeah, Dave Twardzik. Yeah.
I remember watching that man on the screen. You're like, whoa! And then Bob Gross basically being your Cam Johnson. No, I like that. This was the first one I had written down, ready to go. My secondary comparison in the far different option was the 95 Rockets because Robert Horry is now Jokic isn't the defensive monster that Hakeem is, but how much that offense centered around Hakeem in 95, like, this makes sense. My only issue was I couldn't find the Drexler comparison. And I'm like, man, is Drexler just your Murray? And then that's what we're calling it, is just your perimeter scorer. But I'm like, meh. We're at that point, Drexler's too old, and so is Hakeem at that point, too, to compete.
I've got the 95 Rockets for a different team.
Okay. I think I know who it is, but we'll get there when we get there. Okay, I love that we had the Blazers, the same one for the Nuggets. All right. Minnesota Timberwolves. What'd you have?
I stared at this team for a long time, and then when I landed on what I landed on, the more I looked at it, the more I liked it. And I have the 2009 Lakers.
You and me both. This was number 2.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah, I put my note was Alpha Wing leads a super versatile roster whose real strength is its size and versatility. That's exactly what the 09 Lakers were.
Yep. And their defense. It comes back to how good that Lakers defense was. I thought about it. It was Kobe, Gasol, Anthony Edwards, Julius Randle, and then Andrew Bynum and Gobert. You're like, what the heck are we doing here? And then it's
Odom and Naz Reid.
Yes. And then my head, I'm like, okay, Derek Fisher, your least favorite player. Kind of sucks, and we're just out of here. But then it's like, okay, DiVincenzo does like the moments you're like, I kind of hate you too. You're annoying. And
he has some Fisher in him for sure.
But here's where I almost went 2010. I almost went 2010 just because it's Artest, just that defensive monster that McDaniels is.
Yeah, Artest is better than Ariza, but Ariza and McDaniels actually play a little more similarly. That was why I ended up sticking with 09 because I thought the same thing. I was like, maybe I'd do 10, but. I stuck with 09. Just like, and that's even just a slightly better version of Kobe. Kobe had slowed down just a hair in 2010, but man, I love that one. That was like, that feels like a very easy, like direct comparison, and the Kobe Ant stuff is just like, that's perfect.
That's exactly my thought process too. I was like, okay, the only other dominant 2 guard that I'm like could even compare to is MJ. I'm like, I ain't doing that. There's no Michael Jordan team that I'm like I feel comfortable doing and like this Timberwolves teams too. And I was like, okay, the other guy is Kobe. I'm like, okay, we could have done Kobe, we could go Wade here, but I was like, let's just hold off. Let's just do Kobe. And I was like, a lesser Kobe team. I was like, this is perfect. 09 makes complete sense. I love it. I love that we had the same one.
That's beautiful.
This is the one I'm most proud of, though. This is the one that was probably the hardest to do for me was the Rockets.
This one was tricky, too. I landed on a decent one, but this one was tricky.
I went with a team that, man, their guards kind of struggled in the finals, except for one guy who is their Reed Shepherd. And then I went with, they got really good wings. oh, their center is actually like kind of efficient on offense. Not great defensively at his point. Şengün and this center don't make complete sense, but we'll get there. Tell me about the 2019 Raptors and why I shouldn't love that
Oh,
Kawhi and Kevin Durant in this scenario are the same person. And
okay.
Pascal
And
and
then,
Amen Thompson are your basically like, I
yeah.
can't shoot that well from outside, but I'm going to get to the paint and do whatever I want.
Well, and then I guess is Fred your Reed Shepherd?
Fred is your Reed Shepherd. Unfortunately, Van Vliet in this sense is Kyle Lowry and non-existent in most of the playoffs. And then comes finals, he's pretty good. But Van Vliet not playing at all this season is going to really hurt them. But my only other issue I couldn't figure out was, man, where I mean, Şengün is being like kind of your Gasol, and it's a Gasol mixture because Gasol is not the defensive star he is at like early on in his career on this Raptors team, but he's still pretty freaking good.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean the Fred being on both rosters is hilarious. That's the first time that's happened on any of these.
Right.
But no, I like that one. The more I think about that, because yeah, what makes them tricky is like the lack of point guard play, a really good, well, actually a bunch of really good wings, and then like a really good offensive center. It's like that's a weird archetype. There's not a ton of those when you go through kind of the history of these champions.
Right.
But I like that one. That's good. I stayed away from some of the more modern teams. Like I didn't want there to be like direct, but yeah, 2019 Raptors, that makes total sense. Like, yeah, Kawhi to KD, that's a good one. Now that version of Kawhi was, a defensive monster. KD's not quite there,
Sure.
but yeah, the archetype is very similar. So I like that.
What'd you have?
I have these 78 Bullets.
Okay, this was the only other team I thought about because again, it's one of those scenarios where the guards are non-existent, and
Right.
the only reason I didn't go with this is because Unseld doesn't score like Şengün does.
No, he does not.
But
yeah,
like
that's what people. But they do run stuff through him, like at the elbows and top. Yeah, so that was kind of the. But yeah, he does not score nearly as much as Şengün does. And he's much better defensively, but yeah, great passing center, great scoring forward, iffy point guard play, a lot of wing and forward options. That's what I put as like my note. So that really kind of describes this current Rockets. So a lot of talent. Will it all come together? I don't know. That Bullets team had some kind of strange playoff runs and put it together for that run and won a title. So the only kind of great moment in Washington pro basketball history.
But that 70s year, it's like they had four finals appearances, and that was being the one that they won. And you're like, gosh. I mean, they finally got over the hump, and it was against the Sonics team, and it's a weird time in the NBA too. The end of the 70s, you're like, man, is this really going to make it through? And it's an important year. Those like that Sonics team in 79, and then this team in 78 just feels like a good spot for a lot of people, and so I like it. Hayes is your KD, and then Dandridge is what, your Amen Thompson.
He's kind of the Amen Tari, like that kind of I mean, and they kind of all combine if you really kind of like, because KD probably plays a little more like Dandridge than he does Hayes, I guess. True. But they all kind of combine to make like the really good wing scoring options, wing and /4 scoring options.
Well, rewind back to 79. I remember this when we watched this series, the 79 series, how little the guards did scoring wise, and it feels like that's kind of the case here for this Rockets team too. It's like, what can we get out of these guards when we need it most? So that's an interesting point. Okay. We had one discrepancy, and I didn't put the Lakers on this list because I couldn't think of how this team could even win a title. Yet they did beat the Knicks today. So
they did. That's what I'm saying. They just kind of win games. You're like, damn, like
they have a negative point differential. I don't get it.
Yeah, their point difference is bad. Yeah, no, I don't take them seriously as like an actual contender. But they are sixth in the West, right? They're ahead of some decent teams. So, and I have one that I was like a little bit comfortable with. So, I picked the '83 Sixers. So it's an aging megastar in Julius Erving / LeBron James. Gets an in his prime megastar to team up with, but not much depth on the team, right? So that those two things kind of match up. Now positionally, they're very different, obviously. Right. Moses and Dr. J to LeBron and Luka, but that similar archetype with another really good guard, right? Andrew Toney and Austin Reeves.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Toney and Reeves makes sense.
Yeah. So that's the only thing that really kind of makes a lot of sense. But this Lakers team is so goofy; they don't really have a direct comparison. But that was the one I felt the most about, just in terms of like the archetype of where the players were in their career. But even then, I mean, like Moses was not at the end of his career like LeBron is. So
Moses had like 10 more years left in him.
Yeah, he played like quite a bit longer. So yeah, but he was coming off of an MVP season. Obviously LeBron, not last year, but he's obviously won a bunch of MVPs. Which Luka is right. I guess Luka's more than Moses.
I was gonna say Luka's the Moses and LeBron.
Dr. J is and Dr. J played like 4 more years after this. So. Yeah, it's not a great one, but I was like, at least want to kind of throw them like a little bit of love. But we can move on to the East.
No, I still enjoy that one. Pistons. This is going to be the only one where I have the same franchise for the same team, and I went with the 04 Pistons.
Okay, I thought about them, but this is where I put my 95 Rockets.
Okay, wait, huh?
Yes, think about, okay, it's flipped though. So okay, clearly led by a great guard and a great center, but their skill sets are flipped, where like the offense runs on the Pistons through just their guard, right, and the center is more kind of like your secondary option, but like really good defensively. That's kind of flipped on the 95 Rockets, where like Clyde Drexler's clearly the number 2, Hakeem's clearly the number 1. And then the rest of it is like a bunch of capable, really good role players. Like that's what the Rockets are. So, flip the skill sets of the guard and center, but that's about what they are. Where like those 2 players are pretty clearly the best on the team, and there's a pretty big drop off after that. But the role players are good. Like it's not like a joke of a team. It's just like they're not quite like this current Pistons team. If you put them in 95, would be a clear title favorite to me. But in this NBA with like a lot more depth, they're very much not.
So I like that. I do like that a lot. My thought process was clearly Chauncey was running the offense, and that was my mind of like, this is Cade's offense. That's Cade.
Yeah.
So, and then I'm like, okay, well, on the 04 Pistons, it's Sheed who's kind of your secondary option and not Ben Wallace. But I'm like, Duren is that, and then Tobias Harris fits his role and does what he does the best at, like as your third option. Ben Wallace, again, wasn't like a major option scoring-wise, but he's a very good, like, I don't know, on those teams, I know he wins how important he was in that finals when he won the finals MVP, right?
No, Chauncey did.
That's right. But in those teams, he's probably the third best player, maybe behind Sheed and Chauncey.
Yeah.
My issue then became, I'm like, okay, so who's Rip Hamilton? Because Asar Thompson is Tayshaun in my mind. Oh, Tayshaun's a better shooter, but it's like, man, am I really saying like Duncan Robinson is Rick Hamilton? So that's where like I got a little screwed up in my head.
Their games are actually not that dissimilar. Duncan Robinson's just shooting from further out, but Rip Hamilton was just a way better player. That's like the one, yeah. But like they actually like what they do on the floor, like running off screens and curls and things like that, like is actually kind of similar. Duncan Robinson is just doing it from 28 feet as opposed to 18 feet, but Rip Hamilton was just a much better all around player.
That's
but I actually like that one. The more I kind of think about that,
Memo Core is your as Isaiah Stewart.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. Who's your who else? Darko. Who's your Darko?
Oh,
high draft pick but doesn't play. Yeah.
Good God. Man, well, it would have been Jaden Ivey if he stayed on the team.
Yeah.
No, I was thinking about this too. Is Corliss Williamson just my Ron Holland, just ready to go whenever you need him to, in every facet of the way.
Current coach Corliss Williamson.
There we go. Okay, Boston Celtics. This was assuming Tatum was back, but in my scenario, I was still thinking Brown's your best player. And he has been still in these first 2 games that Tatum's been back. But it's 2 really good wings with just a solid crew of younger role players around them. Plus a Derek White, you're not young, you're like 30-something. What did you have for this team?
I had the 1970 New York Knicks.
Okay, I like this. Hit me with your reasoning.
So, guy coming back from an injury. Willis Reed.
God, okay, well, that's a lot of pressure.
did Jason Tatum. No, that's a much later in the year injury, and it wasn't not a 20 Achilles, but a forward-thinking coach who kind of revolutionized his little corner of the basketball world, has gotten a great offense out of his group by playing kind of a unique style that like doesn't really compromise, right? It's just like the 70s Knicks offense was hit the open man. Like they literally, that's like what they called their offense, was just hit the open man. They kept it really simple. I have learned from the 1970 Knicks. I've watched them and taken some things. Really good guard play, which obviously the Celtics have. Now the wings are like, like I have to kind of like transfer like the wing skills to what the guards were for the Knicks. So your Brown and White and Tatum, they kind of combine to make your like, your Walt and those guys. But DeBuscher's on that team. Obviously Willis Reed is like the anchor of that team. So it's not a direct comparison player for player, but more their style of play and the kind of their standing in the league, where they had been on a nice run prior to that team, the 70 Knicks broke through. I maybe could have put 73 Knicks where they have Earl, and just another good guard. Maybe that's actually a better comparison. And then Willis Reed's maybe not quite as good that year, but Yeah, that early '70s Knicks is where I wanted to go because awesome starting five, young guys off the bench that kind of gave you a little bit of an impact, right? Your Phil Jacksons and Dick Barnetts and players like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of where. But a team that just like had a really nice run and consistently were right there as contenders for multiple years, just like the Celtics team has been.
I really like that. Man, that's a good one. I do have the 73 Knicks for another team.
Oh, okay.
So it's going to be an interesting.
I know who it is. Yeah,
yeah, you have to at this point. There's 3 teams left. There's 2 teams left. I went with the 75 Warriors.
Oh man, I looked at them for like multiple teams and I couldn't quite get there with all of them.
So let me rip through this real quick because it's Rick Barry is your Jaylen Brown. Not that Jaylen Brown's controversial, although his streaming and his hairline being gone is keep appearing on guys' jerseys maybe. And then Clifford Ray is just basically your Kada who just like, hey, I'm gonna do my shit. I'm gonna do it well. And then Butch Beard is just the all around point guard Derek White who can do just about anything. Wilkes. Nowhere near Tatum, but it's just like at this point, Wilkes is also like 21 at this point, but it's like 2 very dominant scoring wings in Wilkes and Barry coming together, working together. And then it's Charles Johnson, Butch Beard kind of running your offense. And that's basically in my mind.
Clifford Ray is on that team, right?
Yeah. Clifford Ray's your center and that's who's like Kada. And then, again, it's not like this team is crazy deep, but it's guys who know their role. Like they have, I counted earlier, I think it's 8 guys who average over 7 points a game for this team. So like, oh, okay, there's still guys who are like, I can count on you to get me at least 5 a game in whenever I need you to. Second and off, and the other thing I liked, second in offense, 5th in defense. At the time when I noted this down, the Celtics in the past 30 games were second in offense, 6th in defense. So it's very similar in that sense too.
Yeah.
But
also a coach who's a bit of a psycho, Al Attles, who once fought a player in a finals game and got ejected. I would not be shocked if Joe Maz ever did something like that.
Well, Joe Maz wants to just fight he wants to put the rule in there. If you get 1 fight a year in any game, just get a cage match in there. And God, I love Joe Maz. Oh, I love him so much. But yeah, that was also my thought too. That's what I went with. The New York Knicks. This one was weird. This one was weird for me. And I listen, I've done so many 70s teams, so I was like, just why not add another one? And I went with the 72 Lakers.
Oh, close. I also have a 70s team. I was curious.
Okay. I went with the 72 Lakers because I was like, all right, West is Brunson. And then Wilt and Cat. Man, do they just like to whine about everything, both of them.
But both have nights where they're like, wow, they're unstoppable.
And then both have nights where like, what the hell are you doing? Both just like, what's going on here? And the 72 Lakers, it's we talked about it actually last week before we recorded, but it's like Baylor plays 9 games and then he's gone. Yeah. I didn't know who to really put that on with the Knicks. Is that basically Malcolm Brogdon before the season starts? He's like, I'm out. And then it's like Keith Erickson. They have Gail Goodrich. It's just a wild crew of just wing guys. And I feel like
Happy Hairston is on that team, right?
Yeah. And it's just one of those weird teams. You're like, okay, this works. And it's just like these wing guys kind of fill their role when they know. But it's truly, how can this star point guard and the star big just really work together? And I feel like that's how I went with the 72 Lakers.
That's a good one. I like that one. Yeah, I also had a 70s team. I had the 76 Celtics. A fantastic starting 5 that can rival any other team in the league. Excellent scoring guards. Super versatile big men. Dave Cowens and Cat. OG and McHale combined to give you kind of Havlicek. What Havlicek gave you, right? You got to kind of put those two together. See what you got from John Havlicek. But the build of this team is actually very similar. That team obviously went on to win the title in a kind of a crazy final series over the Phoenix Suns. But don't think this Knicks team is going to win the title, but they certainly could, right? They have like a starting 5 that can go toe to toe with anybody in the league.
So I almost had this 76 team as the for the Rockets, just because it's like one of those teams. It's like because but then I forgot. Holy shit, JoJo White was just so good.
Yeah, their guards are too good.
You're like, God, you can't do that. So then I was like, okay, because I wanted to put this team somewhere. I didn't end up with any Celtics teams, and I was pissed at myself because I almost put like the 86 Celtics for the Wolves. I'm like, that seems blasphemous. I couldn't. I'm like, that can't be what we're doing. But then I was like, I could do like the 83 Celtics. And I was like, it's like the 1 year where like it's before DJ gets there. You're like, it kind of works, but I was like, we'll hold off on it. But okay, I like that. That's actually pretty freaking good. Man, the fact that you got a Celtics team in there, 2 Celtics team in there, I'd had 0.
Two, yeah, so I had a couple.
I had
yeah.
2 Lakers teams, but no Celtics teams. What am I doing here? Okay. The final team that we both had, the Cleveland Cavaliers, and I hinted at it earlier. I kind of gave it away what this team is. I went with the 73 Knicks.
Your Knicks, yeah. I looked at this team as well for them. Yep.
It's
dominant guards.
Yep. Frazier and Monroe. And then at this point, Willis Reed isn't what he was, but they still have like this myriad of wings, myriad of guards. You're like, oh, you can kind of fill roles where we need you to. DeBusschere is like, what are we doing? And like, he's just been so good. Lucas is like still a big technically, but he shoot like a wing because he was like totally out of position. It felt like sometimes Bill Bradley's still really there. Phil Jackson, whatever. Is Willis Reed, Jared Allen? No, but they kind of fill the same role. They fulfill what both those teams really need. A big man who can rebound and whenever you need him to, can score like crazy. Allen's had crazy scoring nights, especially since Harden's joined the team. It's crazy, honestly. And then at this point, DeBusschere, Lucas kind of combined as Mobley in my head. I couldn't think of the Tristan Thompson comparison, but I'm still trying to figure that one out. Maybe so. Yeah, that was what I went with. What do you think of that?
I like it. Yeah, I circled them for a couple different teams. Obviously, went with the Celtics, but yeah, the backcourt is really the what makes the most sense. Like they actually like play similarly to those guys too. So yeah, yeah, I like that one quite a bit. Yeah, the 70s Knicks had to be somebody. So I'm glad we both had,
and especially with how they play in this for a 70s team. It's very similar to, like you said, with like the Celtics. It's like how this offense is like very much less me-centered, and it's like how can we get everyone a chance at the bucket, and when we need a bucket, we can trust Frazier, we can trust Monroe to go get us one. It's we trust Harden, we trust Mitchell to go get us a bucket when we really need it in that similar sense. So yeah, I like that. Who did you have for them?
I have the 89 Pistons. I think you had the 90 Pistons at some point.
I do.
So I have the 89 Pistons. Excellent backcourt, versatile big men, and not a ton in between. This team is more offense than defense. They're kind of the inverse of the Bad Boys in that sense, right?
Yeah.
Like this is a more offensive focused team. The Bad Boys were more of a defensive focused team, but built similarly, I would say. And a team that kind of took off after a trade, right? Like a controversial trade, which is what the 89 Pistons did. The 88 Pistons
Dantley.
With Dantley, yes. I mean, they obviously got within a whisker of winning the title that year. 89 Pistons, they make a pretty controversial trade, but they take off and end up going and winning 2 in a row. So yeah, obviously similar in that sense too, which, they traded Garland for Harden. So felt pretty good about that one. I thought, like, again, the Pistons were one that's like, okay, they've got to be somebody. Like they're built similarly to how teams are built today. So I figured they had to be somebody, and the Cavs made the most sense to me.
I like that. I'm like, okay, so is Rick Mahorn or Tristan Thompson? Is that what we're? But Tristan Thompson doesn't play anymore.
Yeah, he doesn't play at all. Yeah, Mahorn was pretty important. Yeah.
Oh wait, no. I guess Rick Mahorn is your Thomas Bryant because he just doesn't want to shut up. My God, that man today just does. He thinks everything is not a foul. Like, and there is no more crazy hand center than Thomas Bryant in the NBA. I feel very confident in saying that. His hands are everywhere in a half a second. Like they move every direction.
He's had a very odd career, Thomas Bryant.
The fact that he was a starting center for the Washington Wizards just gets really underrated. I kind of missed that version of him. But he's
also the guy in the picture where LeBron breaks the all-time scoring record. He's calling for the ball on the block.
Right.
It's like, what are you doing? It's just ridiculous. Like, let the man break the scoring record. But yeah, that's an all-time photo.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's real quickly go through these real quick again. We'll go through each other's list. I had the Thunder as the 90 Pistons, Spurs as the 79 Sonics, Nuggets as the 77 Blazers, Wolves as the 09 Lakers, Rockets as the 2019 Raptors. I didn't do the Lakers. Pistons, 04 Pistons, Celtics, 75 Warriors, Knicks as the 72 Lakers, and the Cavs as the 73 Knicks.
All right, I had the Thunder as the 92 Bulls, the Spurs as the 57 Celtics, the Rockets as the 78 Bullets, the Wolves as the 09 Lakers, the Nuggets as the 77 Blazers, the Lakers as the 83 Sixers. That one's just for fun. That's what you can take or leave that one. Pistons as the 95 Rockets, the Celtics as the 1970 Knicks, the Knicks as the 1976 Celtics. So you see what I did there with the Knicks and Celtics. Yeah. I didn't know if you got that or not, and then the Cavs as the 89 Pistons.
I love it. So we had two same.
Yeah.
Man,
two match.
the third one I thought we'd both have would have been the Knicks being the 72 Lakers, but your 76 one with the Celtics is a great comp either
So
way.
we matched, the Wolves and the Nuggets. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the Nuggets, that was like so easy. That was like the most obvious one.
But when you look at the Wolves one, it makes the most sense, honestly.
Yeah. It does, yeah.
So here's the two teams that I was like, damn, I wish I would have been able to get them in. The 2011 Mavs, I was like, is there a team that like it? But there is no team that's got like this.
No, there's not.
Dominant 4-3 that you're like, and it's just a bunch of really good vets around him. And that there wasn't any of that. The only other team I thought about, and this is the only other team I thought maybe this could be the Wolves, was the 06 Heat. And I was like, I'm like, Wade, young enough, you're like early on Ant, and then Randall isn't Shaq. I get that. But it's just like he's the best two that you could probably, one of the better two guys you can have in the NBA at this point. And then it's just a myriad of really good wings. But I was like, that doesn't make sense either. So that was one of the teams I was like, man, I wish I would have been able to get that in there.
Those guys are at a different stage of their career than these Wolves are too. Like those guys were all like vets, like towards the end. But I don't mind that one though. That's because they're the super young guy, guard who's taking off. But yeah, there were some teams like the Showtime Lakers. Like there's just no comparison. Like nobody plays like that. Nobody has a point guard who's 6'9", who's like this all world passer. Like that's just such a unique team. And then also like the third best player of all time on your team. Right. So it's like that's just a goofy. Yeah, like that's no one's ever gonna do that again. And then the Bulls were hard. Like I had the 92 Bulls, but like they were kind of a hard team to like really draw a line through. That doesn't really make a ton of sense. What are some other ones?
Well,
the Spurs teams, right? They're like 03, 05, 07 Spurs. Like that was like, there's not really anybody that is quite like that.
It's just the power forward like importance on those teams. You're like, God, it felt like the same thing with like the Mavs. The other team, I was like, there's no shot that we could find a comparison is like the 86 Celtics, even though I wanted to try to figure out if that could be the Bulls. But again, like I said, it felt blasphemous. And then the other one I stared at for like a really long time. And then I was like, there is just no two guard center combo in Shaq and Kobe that is comparable.
Yeah. I didn't even consider them. They're so unique too. It's like, there's no one that has that good of a center and that good of a guard. That's just, they just don't.
Right.
I mean, because everyone that's like that good of a center, your Jokic is, that type of guy, the guard is not nearly as good as Kobe was at that time. And then anybody that has a player as good as Kobe, like an Ant, their center isn't nearly as good as Shaq was at the time. So that's what made that team so unique is that 1-2 punch. So, I didn't consider them for anybody either.
And go back to the Nuggets, it's like that's so important for just being Shaq and Kobe. I mean, that first year Glenn Rice is kind of incredible, like really important for them. But after that, you're like, what am I doing here? The Nuggets, at least, they get everyone involved still. And that's what makes the 77 comparison just so important, too. It's just like the Blazers, they get everyone still involved in every part of the offense, it feels like. Because I think that's what that's what that team learned was like, hey, keep guys engaged, keep them in the offense because everyone still wants to put the ball in the bucket. So the final team, I was like, man, it would be cool, really cool, if we could somehow find the I was trying to find a way to get the Bucks of the 71 Bucks. But again, it's the same. And I thought maybe that could be the Spurs, but I'm like, you guys just have so like Lucius Allen, I guess, could technically be like your Harper, but I'm like, McLaughlin isn't Castle, and Dandridge, I guess, could be your Castle in that sense, but it's like, I don't know. I tried to see if there's a way to get the 71 Bucks in there too, but just couldn't make it work.
Yeah. The really dominant centers. There's not as many, especially because we used the 77 Blazers for the Nuggets. So it's like, okay, well that removes Jokic, right? So it's like, there's just not really a current team with like a dominant center like that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. But I loved this exercise. And
this is fun. It's a good idea.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Let us know your thoughts. We'd love to hear if you guys have any agreements, disagreements. If you have a disagreement about the 77 Blazers, I want you to come at me, and I'm going to say, shut the fuck up, because we're right about this one. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Next week, we're bringing on our college basketball or just full-on basketball expert in Carl Baltimore. We're going to talk about players that we're excited to watch going into March Madness. As Selection Sunday is next Sunday and March Madness starts, Adam has announced so many times that he doesn't watch college basketball all that much, if any. You went at least to it. You did go to one of the weirdest college basketball games this year down in A&M.
Yes, I did.
But we are going to have Carl on just to, talk about the prospects that are going to be playing in March Madness and like playing in important games, but also just talk about what to be excited about once this tournament does come around. So we're excited about that as well. But thanks for listening. Thanks for also just loving the history of the NBA and just listening with us. Also, finally, I don't know what it is. The people in Germany who are listening to this pod, I can't speak German. I want to somehow find a way to do this. But if you are the crew that listens to this pod on Wednesdays at 2:00, and I know that's what the time you all listen to, and it's 100 and something of you, I appreciate the hell out of you. Because you are bumping up our listener count way too much, and I appreciate it. But
here, our German listeners, if they're watching, they'll appreciate this. Here it is.
Oh,
Dennis Schroeder.
God,
Deutschland.
The World Cup champ.
World Cup. Yes,
Oh
World Cup champ. So yes,
I love it.
Shout out to our German fans.
It's incredible. That's the second most listened to country we have, Adam, behind America.
Love it.
It's kind of crazy. But thanks everyone for listening. And to the 276 of you that like listen on the other platform, I need to figure out what that is. I don't know where I'm posting this thing.
Other. Yeah,
it's just classified as other. Someone needs to tell me that. Probably the Germans. But thanks everyone for listening. Go Celtics, go Spurs, and we're going to say go Hornets because, honestly, you dumped on my Celtics this past week, and hopefully Willow has a great first game when it comes on Saturday. So excited
we shall see.
That. But have a great rest of your week, y'all.